Rainbow Six Siege continues. The BR6 is well and truly underway this weekend. This super weekend, 3 days of action. Riley Knight joined by Gio and Ollie here, your casting team, to bring you everything that goes on as we head towards the LATAM League Finals next weekend. Our next match number 3 for today, is W7M versus FaZe. These are two teams who, well, look, their fortunes have differed slightly. FaZe are obviously one of the dominant teams in this competition, up towards the top end of town. W7M right down the bottom. The threat of relegation looming ever closer over their heads. However, as we look at their recent records, FaZe Clan actually not super hot throughout stage 2, 4 and 3. And W7M, pretty similar story with them, 3 and 3. Both teams went 1 and 1 last week. It'll be interesting to see how they go this week. We've prepared a short video here to give you a perspective on where these teams are at, how the players are feeling in the lead up to this match. On the other side of this, we're going to jump into the action and talk about what to expect.
Diversos jogos que em tese eram fáceis pra gente, porque a gente sabia o que os caras iam fazer, mas na execução que foi o nosso pior defeito, assim. Então eu acredito que dessa vez a gente vai conseguir ter essa finalização melhor, essa calma para ganhar as partidas.
Gosto muito do Mavão, é um amigo meu que, desde quando eu entrei na FaZe, ele sempre me apoiou bastante, aprendi muito com ele. Então, ele retornar para o cenário assim, é algo que eu vejo como positivo, que só tende a melhorar o nível do cenário. Um jogo ali que começou difícil, um ataque pra gente, mas a nossa defesa ali no chalé encaixou bem. A gente soube adaptar bem ali para os ataques deles que estavam sendo bem agressivos e levar uma melhor.
Foi um jogo bem estranho porque a gente começou muito bem, acho que a gente abriu 4-1 e a gente não conseguiu finalizar os rounds no ataque, que foi, acho que, marcante assim para essas derrotas da gente.
O jogo com a FaZe acho que vai ser muito dependente do map pool. Eles são um time muito completo, tanto na agressividade quanto na defesa. Eu acho que eles têm um doce, não, o melhor suporte do mundo. Então eu acho que a gente vai precisar estar bem completo, bem preparado, porque eles têm um leque de táticas muito bom.
Our two teams getting ready, seated and prepared for the match that's coming your way. But before that, of course, we've got to find out where it is that they'll be playing. Gio, I'm interested to get your thoughts now as we head into the map veto stage. We know that FaZe Clan's got a deep map pool. W7M certainly the underdogs in this matchup. What are your thoughts as we get across the map bands?
I think both of these teams have really had a preference for especially W7M, those standard maps, like Oregon, Clubhouse, that sort of thing. And that's where they've each thrived. And I think when you look at a team like W7M as well, it's a team that you would kind of want to go there too, because they're still meshing, they're still developing, and they need those maps that are easier to follow a really distinct leadership. FaZe Clan, I actually think they kind of need that as well. They need to go back to square one a little bit, not go somewhere that's too overstimulating like a chalet. So I would like to see that banned out. It doesn't really matter by which team. Oregon's going to be gone, so that's off the board as far as those sort of checkpoint maps go. Cafe potentially could have been, but I think Cafe also can be a bit of a challenge for some teams. So Clubhouse, yeah, it fits into that archetype that I was talking about, and I think this is probably the right place for both of these teams to sort of take a step back and work from the ground up.
I think considering, FaZe Clan's position as, we're billing them as one of the best teams in the league. Certainly their accumulative results suggest that, but they need the wind in their sails here. They need some momentum. We've seen them go 1-1. They're 4-3 in this stage altogether. I think they want to get some more W's on the board just to really cement themselves, their confidence heading into the LATAM League Finals here. On the other hand, W7M, excuse me, I mean, how much room do they have for fancy play? How much room do they have to try new things, to try to outfox their opponents? They need every point that they can get at this stage. Again, we're not talking about relegation here and now, but stage 3 is looming ever closer. And at the end of that, W7M are one of the names that are really going to have to worry about the threat of relegation. So that's something that's going to be on their minds here in Clubhouse, the pick for these teams. Both of them. It makes sense. It makes sense. Let's talk about FaZe Clan in greater depth, Gio, here. This is a team, again, towards the top end of town, a team that has locked up its position in the coming tournaments here. What are they playing for? They've got seeding to consider. They've got cumulative points. But I think, again, that momentum is something they're really chasing here.
I mean, FaZe Clan had a really tough time in the Cobra Elite 6 last stage. And if I remember correctly, they went out in the quarterfinals. So I think it would be very important for them to ensure that they have the bye and actually make it directly into the semifinals. But just judging by some of the things that Cameraman has said to us over the last couple of weeks, I think that FaZe Clan, the most important thing for them right now is to resituate themselves mentally and where they are and where they stand. Of course, they want to be as high as they can be in the standings here. They've already qualified for the Cobra Elite 6. They know that they're going regardless, and they want to be up as high as they possibly can. The buys would be nice if they can achieve that. But they're not going to get very far in the Cobra Elite 6 if they still are struggling to enact on the improvements that they know that they need, whether that's learning how to rein in some of their tendencies for over-aggression, cough, Astro cough, whether that's ensuring that their strategies are not too transparent and they actually have a depth that they can bring forward into any of the games that they're playing. I think for them, this is a personal thing.
I think what you're talking about in terms of mentality there makes a lot of sense. We bill this team as one of the best. I don't think they're playing like they believe that at the moment, with their 4-3 record, a shaky performance last week where they fell across the line in some situations there. We look at now at W7M and Ollie, I want to get your thoughts here because this is a team that with a win here will actually have secured a positive record in this stage. This is a team that is looking to maybe capitalize on some of the other weaker teams' failings and maybe inch their way up the ladder. Obviously, the LATAM League finals out of the question for W7M, but a strong performance here could be the beginning of something, something a bit better here. What are your thoughts, Ollie, on W7M in their position right now?
I think W7M need to really sort of hold their heads pretty high, and the fact that if we look at what they were able to achieve inside of stage 1, they were able to achieve 7 points inside of stage 1. They've already achieved that at this point going into the Super Week. And typically you're expecting to play 2-3 games inside of the Super Week. So there's a chance here for W7M to really come away with a couple more points. It was a stat that I was touting around a couple of weeks ago where they've come away with points in all but one of their matches so far. So they really have done night and day different. And FaZe, on the other hand, you can look toward those guys and you can say, they really haven't lived up to the same expectation that we were expecting them to inside of stage 2. I think for FaZe, they're going to be looking to really cement themselves inside of that top 3 with this game.
Well, we're going to find out exactly how it goes now. The match is ready to go. The players are standing by, so it's time to head down to the clubhouse and get stuck in with our next match. Let's get underway. Take it away, Ollie and Gio.
Thank you, Riley. We're going to be jumping in now. W7M versus FaZe. Third game here of the night. W7M starting things off here on the old defense. Would be something quite good for them. One of the things that's been really exciting about watching this new W7M side play is their sort of disregard. They don't care if they're bringing a pocket strat. Like, they are happy to bring that pocket strat and to play the entire round around it. It's something that really does lead for some entertaining viewing. I hope they've got something up the sleeve tonight for us, Gio.
Oh, absolutely. I'm looking forward to this because as much as we talk about Mav's history with Team Liquid and how there may be some form of a rivalry there, Mav was actually a player on FaZe for a really long time. He coached Liquid for like a year. But his history is FaZe Clan. So this is the real, well, it's not a grudge match. Like, it's not in any way, really. But because it's an entirely different roster and it's been a long time, it is still, if you're going to call out any kind of rivalry, this is really where it's going to be. This game means a lot to both of these teams. W7M mathematically can still qualify for the Cobra Elite 6. I don't know how likely it is that that is going to happen, but I don't think it really matters at this point. W7M, we've spoken about quite a bit over the last couple of weeks about how they're playing for Stage 3. They're playing for Beyond. Stage 2, if good stuff comes out of it, fantastic. That's awesome. But really, it's the long-term future of this team, which is far more important. And I think every game that goes by, W7M improve on their synergy, their strategy, their communications, whatever it may be. We're seeing improvements from them. For FaZe Clan, they came in at the start of 2021 being hailed as, oh my god, the Latin American super team. And they didn't disappoint in terms of how well they can play, but they disappointed in their consistency. And that hasn't really changed much in Stage 2, regardless of the fact that they're making more of an effort to not go overboard like they did in Stage 1, whether that's with just crazy creative strategies or giving too much away too quickly. I think that SI was a bit of a humbling experience for them, and they don't seem to have made a huge bounce back from that. So for them, this is a really important game because they need to prove to themselves that they can get back on that track.
They really do, and the map sort of doubles down on how sort of important this is. FaZe don't have the best win rate over on Clubhouse. Now, granted, some of that is through and then taking into account international competition, which it won't be for the side of W7M, but it is that checklist map. It is the map where you have to be very consistent in your abilities to open walls and get jobs done. So for FaZe, that while it's not something that we've seen them struggle with, sometimes that repeatability is a little bit of a problem. And they're coming up against W7M, who, as a fresher team, will have newer ideas of how they want to do things, right? You know, you bring in players in from other organizations, other backgrounds, other experience. It is going to cause things and strategy to change a little bit. It's one of the ways that we get really good adaptation throughout Siege as an esport is the fact that players change and they take something from one team and they bring it to the next team. It might be a very minuscule thing, but it then adds in and you're constantly adapting and you're constantly changing the way that things are done. So already there's nice little nuances about this W7M defense, right? And it's, let's be honest, it's nothing that we haven't really seen before. They're playing mirror downstairs in Church and Arsenal. We've all seen that before. We know roughly how it works. But it's just nice to see with the addition of the C4 hole above the reinforced wall. You're then able to start challenging a little bit more, and already it's causing FaZe a little bit of a headache. We're seeing, whilst they've got map control, they're very much taking the time with every other step.
And Astro has played a bit riskily so far already in this round, although at this point in time, he's pretty safe. Still a lot of utility downstairs for FaZe Clan to deal with from W7M, as they have retreated somewhat from those really aggressive holds that they were going for, particularly Hertz, who was waiting down below the stock hatch, although forced out of position as soon as he started getting droned. And so FaZe know that he's pretty much going to guaranteed be behind the generator. They know he needs to be cleared out before they can come down through blue, but that's not going to stop them from making their way down main. There's the opening kill onto Panico, but Astro immediately traded out.
Gonna get quite scrappy here, and quickly GDN is left in the clutch. Finds himself one. Is it going to be an exit frag or not? The plant is now going to be going down. Going to try and cut it off with the Toxic Babe canister. GDN has been called out here. A second will go through, but Cameron didn't plant in exactly default. As such, canisters will be unsuccessful. The final kill comes in from the hatch. Souls keeping things real inside of the kitchen. Didn't commit into the site and was able instead just to play for that post-plant situation. FaZe there coming away with round number 1.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there was a lot of focus from W7M over towards the east side. You know, we saw the presence in Lounge nice and early on red stairs, also down in blue. That was the part that FaZe were being a lot slower to kind of contend with. But there wasn't really anyone or anything to prevent the main stairs push that FaZe went for. It's not necessarily traditional these days to go for something like that, but by all means, if you see the gap in your opponent's defense, you know what? Go for it. And they did, you know, they got some trades, but I think, or they got traded out somewhat, I think is a better way of phrasing that. But you know, when W7M turn around because, oh no, suddenly there's these players over by main stairs we have to deal with, then that's when those attackers who were present towards blue can shoot the defenders in the back of the head because suddenly their attention is switched. FaZe Clan took a lot of advantage of that situation. Basically an entirely empty church once they got those opening kills through the soft wall on church wall. And it was, the attack, the execution itself was pretty good.
W7M not feeling confident enough to give it another go downstairs. Which already is a little bit strange, but they're going to take us up to CCTV room and cash for another defensive round here. I honestly would have expected them to give it another go downstairs and just not go for the sort of extravagant mirror play, but instead we're going to see an opening engagement, this time again going into FaZe's favor, albeit it's followed by a lot less kills than it was inside of round number 1. Just a nice little frag for Cameraman, able to take down Mav. Mav playing inside of Church and Arsenal on the pulse, trying to gather that intel. Again, quite an old hat way of doing things.
Well, as you say, Mav's the only person to be brought down thus far. The Cameraman is extraordinarily low at this point. And to be attacking onto CCTV, he's going to have a lot of work as the buck. The idea most likely being that he's going to open up a lot of the floor from down below. And W7M, of course, will be expecting his presence. This is an interesting one. All right.
Oh, that happened.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it too.
Only a little bit strange, but it isn't slowing FaZe down all too much. We do still have Cameraman alive. Obviously, the beautiful artwork won't get finished off there as Cyber has already been taken down. Guy has a chance here at a little freebie. He's only going to land a couple of shots here, and he's going to do just exactly that. Takes down Astro. Flings for the second, but instead, Bullet is going to be holding the angle. GDN again. 1v3 this time, so a little bit better than he was previous, but still a mountain to climb. Diffuser in the capable hands of Souls. GDN giving the game away there, and, well, Bullet isn't going to need too much encouragement. Start pre-firing on through there. Whiz his team to a second successful round.
Again, a lot of kind of entrance in through... I don't really want to say less orthodox. It wasn't that crazy, but there was more breadth of attempted control from FaZe Clan, I think is probably how I'm going to pretentiously word it. I.e., you know, Astro coming in through bar, and then just jumping straight onto the server window at the end there. Obviously, that's directly onto the site, but you don't typically see that just be spontaneously taken. That's usually either specifically held or not really held at all because other places on the map instead are going to be looked at. Big mistake from Cyber to stand straight in the line of sight of the Maverick hole. It's something I spoke about in the last game between Team Liquid and Black Dragons on Villa. Ultimately, it didn't turn out to be a huge problem, and FaZe Clan really do have the sort of go juice within their veins that means that if they need to spring into action to avenge someone, they can do it. The problem that FaZe Clan have had historically is that relying on that isn't reliable. You know, it isn't consistent. You can't always confirm that it's going to work. It worked for them that round, and that was awesome. But the problem is if they get caught out in silly mistakes like that early in the round, you can't always guarantee that you're going to be able to fix it later on.
It's going to be playing maybe for a little bit of a jump out there. You won't see too much success if he does go for it instead. Likely going to try and keep himself alive. Cyber, what are you going to show us this time, my friend, as the abstract Maverick artist? Looks as though he's just going for the good old standard delete the reinforcement. Bit of run out on the cards here. You're going to be going for it. There we go. Oh! We see the cover from Bullet. Well, that's why you run out in twos. He there able to get a trade. He's essentially just gone 1-for-1, a Jaeger for a Zofia. I'd wager that that's kind of worth.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty good. They lined up specifically, got rid of the Claymore. It means that, you know, this idea that they were going for where Cyber was going to open things up and Bullet was holding the angle through into the garage rafters, that's no longer an option. And they've had to employ the use of Cameraman. Now, of course, he was really going to be required to come out as soon as that happened because, you know, you don't have the lifeline. You can't Maverick trick. You can't open up the soft wall. You need the Buck to come through and do it, which means he can't be used elsewhere on the map. So the way that you are affecting the resources of FaZe Clan, not just having brought down a player, is really relevant.
He being alive as well and able to throw more of those magnets out to try and keep hold of the garage is going to be pretty big because whilst FaZe have got the breach open, Thea could have been the one relied upon to try and do a little bit of a job there, and eventually Cyber with the swing will be successful. Cameraman has fallen elsewhere, but FaZe are really doubling down now. Panico in cash. He's keeping a good account of himself. He's picked himself up a couple of kills and been able to bring this to a 2 versus 2. There's plenty of time remaining. Souls is going to sneak his way through the garage catwalk. There's a chance there's information on his location here. Panico still with a C4. Mav and Impact. The Impact is likely not going to have too much to say inside of this round as Souls pushes on through and starts to get the plant down. But the C4 will. It goes a little bit too long. Unfortunate stuff with the wall being open there. It actually sailed all the way on through. Mav now finds a great fadeaway over onto Cyber. But Souls, when it counts, he was there. And he was able to land the crucial couple of shots there. A bit of a ropey post plant, but it gets it over the line for FaZe.
I mean, the last 2 remaining players of W7M were coming in from the same direction, really. So he could use that middle section of CCTV, like the shelves, to his advantage. He'd had control of garage. You know, we saw him coming up through the garage rafters himself. So even though it was a bit ropey, and Souls is not a fragger, he's not who you necessarily would put in those situations if you had a choice, made it work for himself. So FaZe Clan, I mean, doing pretty well so far as the scoreline is looking. And W7M are finally going to return back down into the basement. They're not going to attempt gym and bedroom at all at this point. Instead, they've finally grown confident enough to do what you thought they might do in round 2. And they have also changed the strategy they're going for. No longer is that mirror going to be brought along that you said that you would like to see changed, which, you know, I'm sure you're very happy about that.
I think they were just waiting for the stream delay to catch up, honestly, Gio. I reckon that's what it must be, because this is kind of what we were sort of going for there. It was drop the mirror. It's cool, but it didn't work. And maybe try and roam a little bit more. And what's happened? We got the Mute Mozzie Vigil combo.
Yeah, this is the classic Clubhouse. The classic Clubhouse basement defense. So they're going for the standard.
It is the start of the classic defense, isn't it? We need a few things to happen. We need everybody to be dropping kitchen hatch in the last couple of seconds, like 20 or so will be fine.
Yep.
It really coming down to the wire. Like, we need to see every second on the clock. What else do we need? Do we need some,
you
like,
need
sort
an
of,
Ash so you can play Ash Rush.
Do we need some sort of like comical accident on the roam clear?
Oh, of course.
That'd be beneficial as well, I think. Let's see if all this gets sort of spoken into existence.
Well, we'll see. Those first Selmas being used by Astro to... Was that to open up the construction wall? I'm just waiting for the call.
See, that's got comical accident written all over it.
True.
This is literally it inside of this round. Cameraman's waiting for the drone. He's going to send poor old Astro through. Who is the Heart Breach, by the way? Like, playing on the ace. He's going to be first on in. Hertz is watching directly underneath the hatch. But look at this for some timing from FaZe. Beautifully executed.
See, perfectly coordinated. That's why That's why they waited. That's why those seconds were counting down. And they're actually doing pretty well for time as well, when you consider it. And you can see that some of those defenders are starting to retreat somewhat. Panico is still playing around the main stairs, but not on the top floor. So FaZe Clan, I mean, Souls, you can see here, just trying to hold down through bar. See if you can catch anybody out. It's really hard when you're prone as well, because you could, like, inadvertently put part of your body in the way that someone can shoot, and suddenly you don't have the advantage just by holding the line of sight anymore. Either way, he didn't find anybody.
Well, the time is certainly getting toward that magical number where players are going to have to start making pretty bold choices. With Panico still out on the roam as the Vigil, could be in a position to cause a few problems here. Bullet is already inside of blue, but has to dip back out again. Can't really do all of that alone, and isn't really being supported. As we do hit that 20-second mark, Panico is now going to start to make his play. Bar hatch not being open is a little bit strange, but maybe the call came through that there was a roamer, so we'll give W7M the benefit of the doubt. Still, a plant is going to have to go down, and Panico is going to be doing the damage from upstairs. Finds himself too. The diffuser's cold. It will be picked up, but time essentially does the rest. Astro, he was attempting to plant there on the very threshold of the site. I'm surprised he got there in time. Panico from the hatch. The unaccounted for roamer. As flashy and as cool as that hatch drop was and that initial clear, it just didn't matter.
Well, this is it, isn't it? Is FaZe Clan saw their opportunity, especially once they got those first couple of kills. And, you know, if you compare, for example, the defensive presence on blue in that round all the way back to the first round. In the first round, it was being held really strongly by W7M. That was the predominant area that they were looking to hold. In that last round, it simply wasn't. So FaZe Clan actually saw a lot of space available to them that wasn't there before. But the problem is it meant that they had to forego part of that roam clear, which is why Panico was just left upstairs free, play the hatch, without FaZe Clan having an option to do anything about it, because they were all going in at the same time and walking directly into his line of sight. They were really limited on time at that point too, so they couldn't change anything about their approach. They couldn't go and hunt him out or really react to it. So it was almost like FaZe Clan saw the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, ran over to it, and didn't realize that, you know, there was a ravine in the middle of death.
Yeah, FaZe certainly skipped a couple of steps there, but still, 3 rounds here on the attack. First successful round for W7M. So I think the advantage in the flow of the game is really in FaZe's control still. But it will give W7M something to go on there, that they've been able to execute that defense, and mainly Panico out there on the roam, just keeping himself alive. It's something that Cameraman was kind of talking about last week in the interview. He was saying, you know, just sometimes on defense, you've got to unplug your keyboard. That's essentially what Panico did. He went into strip and he just unplugged his keyboard, and that was it. You know, he wasn't looking to try and move. He wasn't looking to try and make too much noise or a fuss. But it's not going to be that easy this time around. He could still be out there on the roam, as he is holding a C4, and often we will see players try and affect the site from below with a C4 when looking toward a gym and bedroom. A nice nade comes in. Mav gets himself out of the way. FaZe start the push and their approach into this site.
All right. This is the first time that W7M have actually been to this site as well. look at how many discs, as well as the 2 ADSs as well that are guarding Gi. That'll make it really hard for FaZe Clan to clear over by the east side of the map. And Mav watching the logistics drop as well. I do like this. This is something that W7M have actually put a lot of stock into. Even though Herds got taken down earlier by a coordinated execution, on the side of FaZe Clan. It's still something they've put a lot of effort into, is to hold that logistics drop. They know that the Logi Hatch is incredibly important as a route in for the attackers.
FaZe recognizing that as well, as they're going to start to put a bit of pressure in here. It's an unorthodox way to start approaching players inside of Cash, and Astro's going to pay the price for it. The rest of his team seeing a bit of success, though. Cyber going to make a successful swing onto Herds. Mav eventually will be taken down inside of Cash, and it comes all down to Gee. Really like how FaZe split the difference there and pushed in through construction. Not often that you see that sort of a push take shape.
Well, it's very similar to where they applied their hard breaching prowess a couple of rounds sooner as well. And it really does put pressure on essentially what is the weak point of the ship. You know, if you imagine that there's so much weight either side of it, if you can just burst in through that middle section, you can apply pressure to whomever is on either side. You've got great positions to trade should you require it. And it's generally not what the defenders are going to be expecting either. So, yeah, nice approach from FaZe Clan there. And as W7M return to CCTV for the third time, I do wonder what it is they're going to be able to bring that's different here. Not going to church, which is, I mean, they can't go to church, but that's the only site that W7M have successfully defended at all so far. And I mean, they did some good stuff back in round 3 on CCTV. That was the round where we had the run out. Well planned, cool, but ultimately when it came down to it, FaZe Clan still planted and successfully defended their post plant too.
Like a 5-1 split here for FaZe would be quite difficult for W7M to try and navigate going forward. I really don't have the greatest confidence inside of this site, the way that W7M have played it. They've had some nice ideas. We've seen, you know, a flashy run out and things of that nature, but nothing that's repeatable and sort of round winning. I feel like that's the sort of edge that maybe has been missed a little bit here. Cameraman going to be getting himself into position, but this time not required. Souls instead will be opening up with Thermite. Does take the pressure off here, and FaZe have really doubled down on this hard breach. Astro is able just to remove these mute jammers quite nicely. There's a chance there for Panico, but he wasn't in ADS quick enough. Didn't actually deal any damage at all. And now looks to try and challenge onto construction breach, but it's just another thing to worry about here for W7M that they've lost very early on.
FaZe Clan still going for this same approach, but with Panico right behind the wall in construction, he'll be able to stop the second Selma. Or at least that's something. Well, should say the first Selma, as it was the exothermic charge that opened up the outer construction wall. You can see that kind of presence now downstairs as they try to contemplate what to do about that position. We've seen herds as well over here. Storage. And with a second drone too. It's going to actually push him down the stairs. Maybe he'll make a full rotation. But it's Mav to get the first kill onto Cameraman.
Astro going to challenge onto herds as well, as Mav going to be making that rotation through the basement. He still allowed to play in garage, and FaZe at the minute trying to root him out. Bullet going to be underneath inside of Harry Potter, but it's actually going to be Souls that picks the kill up from outside of that breach, outside of that east wall. Mav could have a bit of a run out on the cards here, but he's unlikely to see all too much. W7M are very spread out here. Cyber, control of garage, looking to challenge onto the window. Try and nade on into the stack. Or if he's trying to remove a pre-placed C4 or something of that nature. Mav has rotated inside of construction. He could have a bit of an effect here. A C4 would be quite nice from him, and it will come, but not before Bullet picks himself up a couple. Panico now left again in a bit of a clutch. Like he landed a couple of shots there, but Bullet's been on a bit of a tear for the last couple of play days here. He's really stepping himself up, and that round was no different.
And now we head into the second half, and FaZe Clan have the perfect springboard from which to dive into a potential victory. You know, 5 rounds on the board, that's excellent, that's great. It could all change here. You know, FaZe Clan's defense suddenly wanes completely and just flounders. But with W7M now being put on what should in theory be the disadvantage half and only 1 round on the board, I do worry for them.
Yeah, this isn't the best that W7M have looked, and it's a bit of a shame, really, because they have looked pretty good in previous play days, but the struggle bus has been pretty real today for them, and only 1 successful round on an entire Clubhouse. I know that it's a newer team, but Club's one of those bread and butter maps that you just have to have down. It really isn't somewhere that you can afford to only be picking up 1 attacking win. Sorry, 1 defensive round win. The bans as well. Like, honestly, Club isn't really even that dependent on the bans. It's that sort of default. You know, there's a scenario for every sort of outcome. There's a scenario for every ban. It's like, this ban, do this instead. This ban, do this instead. So you got to worry about that coordination and how that's going to translate onto the attack as well. FaZe only a couple of rounds away from just tying this one up in a nice, neat little bow.
Well, it's time to find out. You know, you said, yeah, this is one of the maps where you really need to know what you're doing. I don't even think W7M have looked like they don't know what they're doing. It's always been the late round that they've seemed to collapse a little. A lot of their setup in the early round I'm actually quite happy with. And the way that they've been approaching it. So I don't think it's necessarily fair to imply that W7M just don't know what they're doing. It's just the overwhelming nature of the way that FaZe Clan play the late rounds, particularly if they're struggling, that W7M are failing to deal with quite as well.
FaZe are very good in that time as well. Like, that's one of the things that, I don't know if FaZe pride themselves on it, but it's something that very quickly while through watching FaZe you'll recognize that they're good under that pressure, and they often put themselves in that position, and it regularly does work out for them. Bullet, how does he get away with that one? Takes down Guy, is left on a shred of health. He already going to be down. Like, why is the Thermite doing that? Why? Now you're looking toward the Mavericks, so you're going to get a couple of hatches open. It's a bit rough. Like, that's where we talk about the coordination. That's where we talk about players that are not exactly in position. That's going to be a big sort of hindrance from this point onwards here for W7M.
Yeah, that was a question mark from me, but you know, alas, we continue on. Yeah, GDN, obviously he'll be getting the hatches open, likely what he would have been doing anyway. But you won't have the option, well, you won't have quite as easy an option to do something such as opening up the church wall without a thermite, for example. So we'll see how that goes. Now, why is the default camera still up?
Certainly a strange one, especially when you see attackers sort of in the vicinity.
I mean, Herds was just like rolling along, like just taking a little jog through garage.
Maybe it's all part of the master plan.
Really? Okay.
I don't know. I'm kind of running out at this point for W7M. I think some of the decision making is a little bit strange. I think they're maybe getting themselves caught in a little bit of a tiz. We are going to see a bit of the church wall opened now. But again, it's a single doorway push that they're going to be dealing with here. Astro is able to land some shots along with Cyber. The call's going to go to watch out onto that long corridor. Panico, he finds one, but it's an exit frag at best. Goals comes up trumps there in the dying few seconds. FaZe, they put themselves onto a match point.
So you push down main stairs, you're standing in front of the Maverick hull, one of you gets killed, and then What, you're gonna look down the corridor where there is an open hole into Armory. You've also got the door at the end of the corridor. Like, they hadn't cleared anything out. There was no, substantial vertical pressure that was being put in from kitchen or above the main stairs, for example, where you typically see. There was nothing to cut rotates off. There was nothing applying pressure onto the defenders down below. There was nothing to stop them from walking forward and taking those kills when you're standing in about 3 million lines of sight. That was really peculiar for me. It's like all the defenders are still situated downstairs. They have control of every room downstairs, and you're gonna stand there in the middle of the corridor. What?
Some choice decisions coming out on the side of W7M, and I think it in that round was exasperated by the fact that they did lose a key part of their puzzle early on. They lost the Thermite, they lost that impactful hard breach, and were left just with Maverick. But even still with just the Maverick, you would like to see a bit of pressure maybe coming down tunnel or just something a little bit alternate. See, you obviously can't do your planned push. You need to come up with an adaptation there, and I think that's where they struggled.
Well, it's like what you usually see when teams on the attack are left in a position where they can't open the church wall. Maybe there's only 1 or 2 of them left. They can't apply pressure anywhere else downstairs. They will almost always go in through Moto, because at least you have the highest likelihood of not being caught out from multiple angles if you come in that way. Whether you're walking in there from church corridor or you're dropping down the hatch, it doesn't really matter. The point is they try and push into church via Moto, because at least they can try and hold the angles themselves. But to try and go down the corridor instead, that is what confuses me.
Oh.
Nicely shooting the C4 out of the sky. Not quite the sky, is it? But, the air.
Thin air. That had disaster written all over it.
Yeah.
If that had gone down, that would have been one of them situations where you W7M, you're just like, GG. Like, this is the sort of wave that FaZe are on today. They're like predicting these mental C4s, but fortunately, I'm not sure who it was. I think it may have been Herds. He had someone stood next to him, but someone shot it out of the air, and disaster was avoided briefly.
Astro gonna fully peek? I don't know if he's going to. Next C4's getting prepped though, straight over the wall. Doesn't catch anyone out. In fact, it'll be Panico to get a nice headshot onto Cyber as the next kill. Or the next kill is the first kill, but there we go. Herds, why you do that? Astro was right behind, you knew he was there. The swing was not enough. He falls to his demise.
Well, Astro eventually will be taken out there. He's kind of expecting to lose his life, I would imagine, especially with a player on the rappel. It's a very difficult angle to challenge. It is going to leave FaZe in a man disadvantage for a time. And W7M have a lot of ground now to take. They can move in through CCTV and cash, and likely into construction as well. Although that will be being challenged to a degree from logistics. Now the time for that alternate approach, as he's going to try and open up the Uzi wall. Bullet not in much of a position to say or do too much about that. He can try for some damage on the ankles, but it isn't really going to go through. The wall now gets opened. 25 seconds left though, so still FaZe can look to try and hold on here. Cameraman is going to get rid of his last Toxic Babe canister as he tries to cut off any players moving through construction into master bedroom. But hopping from Mav and some aggression is going to be shown here. He isn't going to be able to take down the player inside of the bathroom, crucially. And Alder in the bathroom, it is also often the way. Souls, he's got a bit of info to be going off here. He has to try and pre-fire. The proned Gi is going to find him out. Cameraman now has a bit of intel, finds one. The 1 versus 1. He has one more to find. Gi, like he gets himself outside, or is just playing tight. There is a bit of intel, but it's available for both sides. Caught out in a drone and a Z ping for Cameraman. He's going to go for a swing here with the SMG, not the shotgun. That is a bold move, my friend. Gi quite rightly wins that engagement. Bit of barbed wire slowing Cameraman's progress down. W7M, they pick up around here when it matters the most.
Yeah, I mean, they really kind of holding on to the cliff edge for at least one more round. which could, you never know, this could be the redemption arc. But did get close. It did get close. FaZe kind of going to be returning back to gym and bedroom. Gonna have a clash. Bullet's going to be playing on Clash. And yeah, I mean, oh no, Bullet's not going to be playing on Clash at all. Bullet's going to be playing on Goyo. More C4s, which W7M have yet to avoid or shoot out of the air or whatever it is they're going to do to deal with it. Also going to have to deal with the shields as well that are brought along. There'll be 3 of them in total. I should imagine. I say that because I immediately doubted myself after we saw what was these we saw in the last Playday where it was
smoke barbed wire.
Smoke barbed wire, yeah. So you can't just assume that a smoke means a shield.
Never. That is not a safe assumption to make. I can't remember who that was. We said that we were going to ask them about it in the interview, but I mean, obviously they didn't win, otherwise we would have asked them.
Well, yeah, they didn't win because
they didn't bring the shield. Like,
exactly.
Goes without saying. I can't remember who it was.
Bring smoke barbed wire? You think you're gonna win? Like what? Who are you? But yeah, so it is going to be 3 shields in this one. I'm just seeing how they're going to set themselves up. I mean, they've put Cyber downstairs for now. Unsurprising to see Bullet going downstairs. I don't know if he'll be playing on the basement or if he'll go back up to the first floor because, you know, as he said before, C4 in hand, it makes a lot of sense, especially if he's going to play down below something like the gym hatch. Is a good place to throw a C4 at, especially given where a lot of teams like to plant, particularly if they can't get control of Master itself. So that would be unsurprising.
I think he's going to be looking to try and get this wall open. He's trying to cautiously avoid the mute jammer there. It's just going to work out for him. Gets himself back onto the rappel so that he can maybe hold a bit of an angle. A sneaky way of getting around the jammer, but it's going to do the job. It does, of course, mean that you have a bit of a hop in. It's not as clean a transition from outside to in. Astro may be in a position to try and make a couple of holes there as well above the garage, above the bathroom reinforcement to give themselves a little bit of scope for C4 or potentially impact again.
Well, we shall see. It's so slow going so far. Soul's whipping out the evil eye, but there's nothing to actually evilify just yet. No drones to be spotted. GDN taking a hefty chunk of damage from, I believe... Oh, I guess it was from Souls, who was looking through the drone hole. I thought it might have been from the player who was by the logistics door. Maybe it could have been. Either way, Babe canister comes out. GDN sees his opportunity. He gets rid of the evil eye, or at least attempts to. I'm sure that that's done its job regardless. Yeah, there you go. It's been deleted. So they're prepping gym. That's where they planted last time as well, remember? So, makes sense.
I do feel like W7M have lasered into this gym plant and trying to set it up. Maybe, just maybe, skipping a few steps along the way. Mostly the fact that FaZe are still at full strength here in good position. A C4 going to swing out. Isn't going to do any damage. The Fear Lifeline comes in to try and do something about the player in the bathroom. GDN going to be getting this plant down. There will be a player underneath with a C4, and that player is going to be Bullet. Isn't going to land the C4, but Cyber does something to find a kill over onto Mav. Plant having gone down now, though, and W7M is coming up with a lion's share of the kills here. Souls, he's barely moved his feet for the entire round. He's going to turn and find himself a second. Still going to play it outside to try and deal with. It's now all down to Herds. Bullet has won his 1 versus 1, and, well, Souls and Bullet, they can maybe jump out of this one together, or they can try and get themselves onto that plant. There's only about 10 seconds for them to be working with here. Bullet, he jumps himself outside Herds! How do you do that? He hits 2 people in the same second!
What the hell just happened? Oh my god. I was like, as soon as I saw out of my peripheral vision, as soon as I saw someone jump out the gym window, I was like, yeah, he's done for. Herds was 2-8. Sat 2-8 at that point. He has had a rough game. And he got them both seemingly at the exact same moment. How he achieved that, I do not know, but it's kept W7M in the game.
It was the epitome of spray and pray.
Yeah, it literally was.
There was about 3 bullets in between the 2 players. He didn't even take his finger off mouse 1, I think.
Here we go. Like, I mean, yeah. No, he didn't take his finger off mouse 1 at all. And he went back.
Yeah.
He did a double take to ensure Bullet was dead.
Back and forth, back and forth. What a round. W7M, like, I'm not being rude when I say this, but they are the scrappiest team inside of BR6. And, like, it just is a fact. That round is a clear example of what I mean. They just keep getting these rounds over the line. They have come away with points out of all but 1 game so far this stage. Like, FaZe Clan, they might be on match point, but I'm starting to believe in W7M. I'm starting to believe in the OT.
Oh, man.
It's wild.
Hey, look, I'm down for it. I am down for it. I don't know if they can sustain themselves to that point, though. It feels like if they can, it would almost be like trying to climb up a rope that's sort of splayed down to its final thread and somehow has sustained your weight. Because W7M, while they've had a couple of really cool rounds, the last couple of rounds, they haven't exactly been amazing rounds. Do you know what? Does that make sense?
No, it's not been strong rope.
No, not at all.
It's been more of like a twine.
A twine.
Like a garden twine that you could sort of snap with your hands.
Yeah, the kind of thing that like kids would build a really crappy rope swing out of that's not real rope, and then they like fall into the river and cry.
Sounds like a sad childhood deal.
Well, that never happened to me, but I was talking to someone else the other day, and they said that they knew people who'd gotten really hurt for playing on rope swings as a kid. And I was like, well, never happened to me, but it could happen to W7M. We'll have to find out. They have had some really entertaining rounds, though, if nothing else. There's Gurjamont Mine is going to be hurting GDN as he comes in on the Monty, but it will be Hertz who's feeling himself after that last round to bring down Bullet.
Bullet, one of the last players alive in the previous round as well. And he's been a big player so far for the side of FaZe. Double positive currently, 14 and 7. Mav going to take down Cameraman, and already you get the feeling that this is a W7M round. Why isn't it? What is stopping them from being able to take this round here? There isn't a great deal. They've got everything in their favor. They've got a bunch of time to play with. Sure, they're going to be attacking onto one of the tougher sides, but even hatches haven't been reinforced because of the roam presence and the expected success of said roam presence on the side of FaZe. It's meant that they've actually not done a couple of things in their setup that typically you would. Now going to give W7M a nice, easy mid to late part of the round. Everything they're doing inside of this final minute now is going to be expedited a little bit because of that. And they can look to start taking up these positions. The Monty as well. He's going to provide a ton of info. Often called the walking drone, a cyber. He's going to be the next player to fall. It very well could be a flawless here. Kurds has picked himself up 2 so far on the round. Astro, the last surviving hope for FaZe in this round. In a 1 versus 5. In an ace clutch. 19 seconds. That's all he's got to do to try and hold on here. He's going to be given a chance at 1, and he will take it. He doesn't know that Guy is going to be playing there as well, and it's a 50-50 challenge. He has to challenge down long, but also there is going to be a player at the bottom of main stairs. W7M, they do it again.
This is where Twitch just spams like mental chalked, right?
Yeah.
I'll be honest, there were a couple of deaths on the side of FaZe Clan where I thought the same thing.
Oh.
Where I was like, why are you walking out there? Why are you, it didn't feel like as tight a run ship as they've had in a number of their rounds. It felt almost like they expected it to be lost.
Yeah, the mental on the side of FaZe has got to be pretty low now. They've been on match point. What did they come out? They came out at a 5-1 split at the half.
Yep.
Off the attack. They're now on the defense, and they've won 1 round. W7M, 2 rounds away from leveling this up. this is a very, very scary prospect now. And W7M are bringing different stuff as well. Last time they brought the Monty. This time we've sacked the Monty off, and instead we've got a Thermite Maverick combination. They're sort of not flexing the muscles, but they're just sort of showing and staying relatively unpredictable. I'm not sure if the site selection has gone into that decision at all. I mean, maybe the Monty was in case we saw CCTV and Cash be brought by FaZe, because obviously that would be nice to take into Garage with. But certainly the momentum at the moment is with W7M, and honestly, I would be surprised. It's gonna take a big round from FaZe. They need to get control of the early part of the round, and they need to be very successful in that roam game if they choose to do it. If they don't choose to do the roam game, then they just need to rely on the site and its powers.
Yeah, I mean, different approach coming from W7M as they've ditched the Monty. I want to see this Mav get some action. I remember on Clubhouse, Maverick always used to be brought for like a CCTV attack. This is really good at clearing out rafters, but not quite as popular for the downstairs, although not completely unheard of. Soon as Cyber gets droned out, he's going to retreat. Oh! Where was that from?
Panico?
Was that from Red Stairs? Oh, okay. I mean, Panico was directly ready to trade Cameraman, but I don't know. I wondered if Cameraman maybe swung round.
I wondered if Panico had downed him himself. Just saw like the flash of color change in the pixels he was holding and got a little bit excited.
Me too. I saw the same thing. I was like, okay. Well, Herd's the man who... Default cameras again!
It's not good enough, is it, Joe?
No! Why is this a running thread in this game? Like, do it once, okay, you can kinda let it go. But multiple times?
It's funny as well, because some teams, like, you'll see 3 people check the same default cam. And then W7M, they're just like, everyone's like, nah, he's got it. Nah, he'll have got it. Nah, he'll have got it.
Jesus. Oh, well, you know, if it comes to bite you, it's your own fault. Panico's going to send down the Gemini to have a spy into blue. Cyber finally gets rid of it. They'll know about that shield behind which he is hiding. But I'm not... Oh no, there is someone still in there. It's Astro. And the ADS is gonna eat up the first one, but doesn't get the second nade, which means the shield can be deleted, and now Cyber's in a much more precarious position.
It's just going to come down to gunfights again here as we enter that final bloodbath stage of the round. Souls will take down Panico. Astro's got a great line of sight and a really good angle here, and is likely going to be able to assist his team in cutting down these members of W7M. Only map left standing. FaZe finally get it over the line. It looked shaky for a time. They realized they just needed to stack the site, hold those crossfires, and eventually they're able to get the win here on Clubhouse. 7-4 over W7M.
Yeah, they finally did it, but W7M really did give them a run for their money, especially in that second half. Made it so much harder, and these were 2 teams who had a lot to prove to themselves more than anything in this game. And I can't speak for how satisfied they're going to be with their efforts, but at least on the side of FaZe Clan, they can put 3 points on their tally for it, and that is better than nothing.
It really is, and obviously as the Super Week gets really underway, we know that FaZe are going to be playing a couple of times over the course of this weekend, and with Liquid already winning a game earlier today, it's nice to keep pace there and remain on that cool kid number of points, which is now going to be 35. It was 32 coming into this play day, but now 35 is the cool kid number of points. So it's nice for FaZe to stay competitive and to keep it up there. But I think there's going to be questions about that performance. You know, if that was a closer game, if W7M weren't so many rounds behind going into that first split, we could have seen a very different outcome there, because they have got a lot of grit as a team, and that is really something that can't be underestimated. I think they've probably got not some of the most hunger inside of BR6 in terms of how much they want those rounds. Let's bring Riley back into here. We can have a conversation, maybe even get cameraman in or somebody from FaZe for an interview.
Yes, indeed. Good to be back, and certainly interesting to see the way that FaZe went from, what was it, 1-5, 1-6, to, I mean, really being very meaningfully challenged, especially when they were on defense. And I don't know, man. You're a while there's like, oh, they're going to do it? What's going to happen here? We're going to see another upset. But I do want to actually chat to FaZe Clan about that, about what we saw there in terms of the teams kind of, not the game not going the way that we anticipated it after at the halfway mark. That's something that looked like not quite a foregone conclusion. It was like, this is how it's panning out. But gee, we ended up getting a bit more than our money's worth there as the team swap roles.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you looked at round 8 and round 9, which were those first 2 rounds that W7M won in the second half, and obviously Herds with his 2K was really something, but they were kind of scrappy rounds, I think is fair to say, and that's why I said what I said in the cast, which is that, W7M have had like good rounds, but they haven't necessarily been good to Siege, and I don't know if you can rely upon it, and of course it didn't end up being sustainable.
Well, let's bring cameraman in now. Looks like we're ready for an interview, and we can hear it from the team themselves. Cameraman, of course, here representing FaZe Clan, the victorious team in this situation here. Congratulations on the win, first of all. Great to have you joining us. Talk to us about that scoreline. 1-5 heading into the switch, and then things kind of fell apart a little bit. Talk us through what happened with the team there.
Yeah, we had good attacks, really good attacks on our side, but like Clubhouse, I think it's getting more attack side, in my opinion. So yeah, nothing unusual. Like they played really good. Some bad timings in my part that could bring it around for us. They had clutch situations, as you guys said. Herds flicking around like Bullet and I don't know who else, Souls. And yeah, that was a good point for them. But I think strategically saying we were better today, and we could have ended earlier this match. In my opinion, we had full control.
Yeah, cameraman, obviously kind of going off of that theme of you guys having a really strong first half and then it being a bit shakier on the second half. In round 10, this is the one that really intrigues me because round 10 was a very fast round, and I would say it was probably the most decisive round win for W7M. It looked like maybe the mental on your side was waning a little bit. Do you think that there was a potential problem there for you guys? Like, how did you get back into the focus?
Like we tried to change our game. And like we defend the first defense basement was like it was only me roaming around upstairs, and then the second time we tried to change a little bit and put more 2 people and more reinforcements there, but it was kind of lucky because they got Montaigne in that round, so that kind of was really bad for us to hold these positions with the Montaigne coming after us. And as I said, it was a really bad timing that round as well. I could have killed Mav too, but yeah, the team was communicating really good. We were really good today, and Bullet was insane too.
I think just going on that as well, cameraman, what's going on with Bullet at the moment? Because the last couple of games that he's played, he's really started to look a lot more comfortable. He's been getting a lot more kills, and he's really started to elevate himself now. Astro had a really good start to the stage too, and now it seems like Bullet is almost the star of the show. What's happened that's enabled him a little bit?
Nothing. This guy's crazy. I don't know what happened. It happened nothing. Like we had some changes, like in the practice during the week. Like we were kind of have some different activities, let's say. So I think that maybe that could help him. I don't know. So we'll keep doing this.
All right, well, thank you very much, cameraman, for joining us. Thanks for the insight there, and we're looking forward to seeing you more throughout the weekend. Best luck to you in the coming games, and thanks once again for being here.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Great to have cameraman on board there. We're going to take a quick break. It looks like we're going to get set up for our fourth and final match. After the break, we will be watching MIBR and Santos. Santos for the second time today entering the arena. So do be sure to stick around. We're going to take a quick break, as I say. On the other side of it, more Siege coming your way.